tearing his meniscus, and so he will be out, and that will require surgery. So we'll be missing him for sure. And Matt Skur will be limited with his knee. John Wofford limited with his neck, and then Matthew will be a non-participant today. With him being in the protocol and with his neck. And really just to kind of give some clarity to that situation. So on Sunday's game, Matthew took a hit. He felt some numbness in his legs, all right? And so we wanted to make sure that we were checking all those boxes, being smart. And so then we ended up saying, all right, as a result of that, you take him in the tent, you ask all those right questions, and we wanted to take the conservative approach to take him out of the game as a result of some of those symptoms that he was having. We waited to be able to get some medical expert advice on Monday to find out, all right, does this mean he has a concussion, things of those nature? And that's what we were waiting to see. That's why I didn't have that clarity for you guys on Monday, okay? The biggest thing is as a result of some of those evaluations, and because we pulled him out of the game, he is in the concussion protocol. That does not mean that he has a concussion. Because we pulled him out of that game for those reasons. He's got a neck issue right now, and we're continuing to gather those evidence. But he will be out this week with that neck issue. He is in that protocol because of the way that he was that he exited the game, and then he'll still need to be able to take those necessary steps to be able to potentially get cleared. But that does not mean he has a concussion or has been diagnosed with one yet, and that's kind of where we're at with that.
When you say he's out this week, for practice or for the game?
For the game. He'll be out for the game.
Will Bryce Perkins get the start?
Yeah, we're working through that kind of stuff. Bryce is going to get the majority of the work today, and we'll see how John progresses throughout the week.
Can you kind of, I know you have some medical privacy stuff that you can't cross.
Sure.
Can you kind of take us a little bit further? He felt numbness in his legs.
He did. He had communicated that, on one of the hits, he was feeling, some numbness in his legs, and so obviously, that's concerning information. We get that communicated, and that was why we ended up, pulling him. We made the choice. He wanted to continue to play, just knowing how Matthew is, but given all these things, we wanted to be able to err on the right side of that.
With that, did he, when you guys are going through further testing on Monday, not just for concussion symptoms, but also was he getting anything spine and neck?
Absolutely, yeah, and we did. We're checking all those boxes and going through all that, and so there's a lot of layers to it. But you certainly want to make sure that you're doing everything in your power to kind of undress exactly what led to that feeling, and letting the experts be able to give their opinion, look at the MRI and those scans, and be able to give the right information so that we can move forward accordingly with him.
Is there an option, Sean?
Go ahead.
Is the numbness gone?
Yes.
Is there an option for him to go on IR? Are you considering that at all?
I think we're just taking it a day at a time, and really it's a week at a time at this point. You guys know that we're going to be smart about this situation, and it is my tune and tone is not going to change in the least bit. It's about the person. It always will be, whether it was Matthew or any of our players, especially as it relates to some of these different things that we're working through, and that's kind of where we'll leave it right now. He's out for practice. We are optimistic that he might be able to make it for the game.
So Stafford does not have a concussion, or is he still?
He is in the concussion protocol, all right, and he has not been diagnosed with a concussion yet. That's where we're at with that.
And when you say yet, I mean, could that still be determined, or is it past that?
Yeah, I think those are the things that those experts, as you get into that protocol, but he was placed in the protocol as a result of us taking him out of the game, not because we've diagnosed him with a concussion. That's the thing that I wanted to make sure that I was communicating to you guys.
Sean, with the situation being what it is, have you guys, first of all, talked, you and him, about what his future the rest of this season looks like, and then also with him clearing previously, only I think 2 days before the game, what was the conversation like in him and you guys deciding to play him?
Yeah, so he had passed the NFL's concussion protocol, and then, with Dr. Collins in Pittsburgh, who's an expert in this arena, he went out and saw him the previous week, and we got the green light, and so, felt like we took all those necessary steps, from a medical perspective, and then also talking with Matthew and with Kelly. To say that you want to get, too far ahead of yourself, that's kind of where we're going to be smart about this. But, to go past this week, I think the most important thing is let's see how he's feeling. And like I said, the tune and the tone will continue to remain consistent. You obviously want to be really smart about that and how we move forward, but I want to be able to gather the appropriate information, but we're not going to do anything that's reckless.
Always listen more to player feedback, as a coach, general ethos, but at what point do you step in to protect a player from himself?
Yeah, I think once I get the appropriate information, and then in a lot of instances, it's gathering that from those experts, and then using the things that guide your decision making process, whether that be leaning on people, and in some instances, trusting your intuition and your gut. But you guys know Matthew. He's so tough. He's such a great competitor, and I definitely think that's probably one of those deals where if he is cleared, you definitely want to make sure that I'm making a smart decision for him and for our team, not exclusive to this year. And you don't want to say that, hey, every time we're trying to go out there, we know we're in a tough situation right now, but we want to be able to go out and compete, want to be smart about that. And some of these surrounding parts add a lot of layers to it that is very real and things that you need to think about, before we even make a decision on what's next for him, even, playing this year, if that's even something we consider.
I mean, is there a concern that it's related to the first concussion that he had? Is that for the discussion?
Not to my knowledge. I mean, I know those guys, I know the experts have kind of talked about that, but I think what you want to do is, take that information that I'm communicating to you guys, let them kind of work through that, and then, see where we're at from there.
Sean, you waived the Darrell Henderson and Justin Hollins for the reason for that?
Really just kind of what we felt like was best, both for our team and for the players moving forward, just where we're at. It'll give us an opportunity to be able to evaluate some players at those positions. Both of those guys are free agents and, kind of being considerate to, what's the most likely step with those guys, but appreciative of all their contributions, and they were nothing but class in terms of the way that they handled that.
Bryce told us after the game that when he went in, you said, hey, don't feel like if you see it to run it. How much, if he goes as the starter this week, how much does your playbook change?
I think, it's always about, Kurt, trying to figure out, how do you accentuate certain guys' skill sets, while also being mindful of, the surrounding 10 players around the quarterback, and then also, the opposing defense that you're trying to go against. And so there are some different things, but that would be no different whether it was, a different quarterback other than Matthew. And you guys have seen, what that looks like. We're continuing to work through those things, but I think you want Bryce to be able to go play fast, confident, and have that clarity. And I thought he did that. I think, one of the things that you can't deny about Bryce, he's one of those guys that elevates people around him. He's got a great just game day demeanor where nothing's too big for him. And you could see his teammates believe in him, and he brings a good positive spark to us if he's got to go.
Do you anticipate, as the season goes on, any more moves where you're releasing veterans like Henderson, Hollins?
I wouldn't say that. I think those are some extenuating circumstances, but this has been, you just take it a day at a time and really a week at a time for where we're at. And like I've said all along, we're always going to make decisions that we feel like are in the best interest of the team, and then also with consideration to our players.
Last one, guys.
Go ahead, Gary. I'll let you finish up.
I was going to say, you had said you were going to explore depth at quarterback, and it looks like you've signed a practice squad guy.
Yep.
What was the impetus, and what do you think of?
I think the Matthew situation is the first impetus, and with John having a strained neck, it's kind of that you're kind of mandated to be able to make some of those things, make some of those decisions. As far as learning about the player, just met him, and we're kind of I'll be able to have better answers for you as the week progresses. There's a lot of new faces around here that I'm meeting guys, and then they're out there right away, and so it's kind of been par for the course this year.
We'll wrap up with you, Greg.
I'll get you.
The plan with Darrell, who replaces him seems pretty obvious, but who do you anticipate taking more snaps at linebacker with Justin?
I think, Terrell Lewis ends up being, one of those obvious candidates, and then, we'll work through some possible guys that have some position flex for us as well.
Darrell had put out a tweet after the move. It seemed cheerful about the situation. Was he frustrated with his workload or usage or anything?
Not to my knowledge. I think anytime that those types of things, occur, like I said, I've got nothing but respect for Darrell and everything that he did. He made a lot of great contributions to our team over the last handful of years. He did some really good stuff this year, and so wish him nothing but the best. Okay? Thank you, guys.
Happy early Thanksgiving, guys. How you guys doing?
What's your assessment of the situation with Justin Hollins and the decision for his release?
You know, we got to get, better play and got to get some other people to play and do some different things. So we'll get a chance to see some of the other guys going out there and get them a chance to get those guys to play, get those guys a chance to rush. Really got flow going, really got those guys going. Been working on some people at those positions and things like that happen in football. All kinds of things change when you're in the season and stuff like that happens, especially this type of season when it's a hard one, when it's difficult, and you want to see people out there play. And now's our opportunity.
Raheem, Sean mentioned T. Lou Terrell being a guy seeing an obvious candidate for increased snaps with Justin Hollins being waived. Are there any other younger guys you could foresee being more playing time?
For the most part, we're repping, Mike Hoyt out there a little bit as well because his athleticism, the body brings the ability to set the edge on the run. So you get some T. Lou, some Mike Hoyt, obviously some flow. And then, obviously we got a bunch of young stable of guys out there that are probably fighting for opportunities this week. We got to get the practice and do the opportunities to do those things and let Sean and Les make some of those decisions on who we can put up if we can. If not, we'll go with the guys that are available that we have on our roster.
Sean mentioned position flexibility and whatnot, and Hoyt certainly has that. I think he was even at tight end earlier this year. But will you kind of change your front structure a little bit if you have guys that maybe are a little bit less of that outside linebacker prototype that you want to see in action?
I don't know if it's necessarily changing the front structure because of Hoyt. He is so athletic. He's one of the few guys that I've seen play D-line that can play special teams. He's one of the guys, like you just mentioned, can play some tight end. So he has a lot of that athleticism trait that you need in order to do those things. So he's not necessarily a change. But we've done that in the past before. You've seen Sean play on some of our edge defenses, and that changed some of our structure, some of our different packages that we have. We had the ability to do that, and Hoyt certainly can flip-flop in all those different roles. He can play inside, he can play outside, he can play on the edge like in Sean Robinson. He can do some of those different things as well. So he's been able and fortunate to do those things, and his position flexibility has done nothing but help him being here at LA.
Every week you're scheming against an offense that does something different.
Sure.
How big is that gap this week with Mahomes and what they do?
You could tell they've been together for a while. The system's in place. What Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy has done over the years has grown even more. From the Philly days to what they do now, implement some of the college-style scheme of things that they kind of brought into the league and made it fad. They've gone past that and implemented things to the league and made some of the things that are fad that they're kind of not even doing anymore, that people are just catching up with, that they're kind of moving on to something else. They're innovative. They're dynamic. They know how to fill the roles, the position needs that they have. They do a nice job of identifying the traits that they love in their athletic body positions and types. That's why you see people be able to go out there and fill those roles and still be able to have the amount of success that they can have. They do such a great job, and the quarterback is an alien. Let's be honest. Like, he's an alien, and they also had an alien at tight end. And the rest of the guys are playing their butts off, and they're doing a nice job just from that standpoint. So this team is extremely hard and difficult to prepare for and plan for, but you got to go out there and, like every other week, stop the run. You got to go out there and lock down and take away what you want to take away in that particular play, limit those guys to explosives, and have the ability to try to get the ball back.
In your time in the league, is Mahomes a Vic? Does he compare to anybody?
It's hard to compare him to anybody because he's kind of like a trendsetter, with this new age, this new league, like you can say Vic because of the athleticism. You can bring in Steve McNair because of the ability to throw from any position, a little bit of Aaron Rodgers. All of those guys, that's, our guy, that's throwing with the no-look passes and having the ability to throw off vision up the guys and look people off and have that kind of control and that kind of rhythm. He's unique in that way. He's very confident, and he should be. He has the people around him, the coaching around him. They're a really good football team, and they're fun to play. Being fortunate enough to play them once in Atlanta, have some success, and being able to do some different things, they are fun to play, particularly at that place.
With the lack of takeaways this season,
yes.
Is that something that's kind of wearing on the team mentally, you think?
I don't think it's wearing mentally. I think it is a bothersome, you want to get turnovers, but like I said to you before, it happens when technique and opportunity meet. And the few times when the technique and opportunity meet, we haven't been able to cash in. I told the guys today, you got to need a turnover like you need oxygen. You got to need like we need air. You know, that's our life force. That's our chance to go out there and improve our status. That's our chance to go out there and get better. That's the way we improve our team and how we go. Like, it doesn't let it, I wouldn't say it takes, what was your word you used?
Wear on you mentally.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it wears on you mentally, but it's one of those things that you constantly got to talk about, and you got to live it, and you got to breathe, and you got to be about that, you know, like, but, you know, I wouldn't say mentally is wearing, you know, mentally what wears on you is losing. You know, you want to have the ability to go out there and win football games, but you want these guys to be able to go out there, compete at the highest level, and get better, and take away the ball when an opportunity presents itself.
I think it's only one in the last 8 games.
Yeah, we are
So
way down, Gary.
So have you ever experienced a spell like that where
You know,
1 in 8 games?
You know, I feel stats are for losers. I'm more into the win thing, so I couldn't tell you if I've actually gone through that. Personally, I'm sure I have. You know, right now particularly stands out because in order to try to get those wins, you got to create short fields, you got to create stuff for your offense, and we haven't done a good enough job of doing those things when they have presented themselves, when we had those opportunities, when they came up. You know, we can't talk about not getting them without talking about the missed opportunities, the close but no cigar type of things.
Kind of a two-part question. If that's
Sure.
all right. Without Ashawn, especially against the run, who needs to step up for you guys?
Yeah, first, we got to talk about Ashawn. I mean, you're losing a key cog to what we do and how we do it. And, you know, but I got a lot of confidence in Marquise Copeland. I got a lot of confidence in Bobby Brown. I got a lot of confidence in Eric Henderson, their coach. The things that he's been able to produce and the guys that he's been able to throw out there and do different things with, those guys will go out there and do their best. It's hard to fill a guy's shoes like Ashawn Robinson with one guy. You got to do it by committee, and you got to get those guys to go out there and be able to do some of those things.
And then the second part, you guys overall have stopped the run really well this year, and it's kind of led to teams understanding that there's really one way to try to attack you,
No question.
especially underneath that shell.
Yep.
And so I'm kind of wondering, week over week, what the conversations are like in terms of how aggressive you want to be versus how aggressive you can be, especially when an offense is not scoring points.
As you know, Jordan, you got to pick your spots. You know, you got to pick your poison. You got to pick your stuff that you want to do and try to be aggressive. You know, last week we picked a spot to be aggressive. The rush wasn't as coordinated as it needed to be. You had a free runner. You're bearing down. You hit him really well, and he throws up a ball that dices us down the middle of the field in an attempt at being aggressive. You know, like, you can't let that take away from your aggressiveness. You can't let that shy away from what you want to do. You got to go out there and attack, but you just know how critical those moments are when they happen. That creates the two score game. That makes you get out of whack. That changes the whole dynamic of what you got to do to try to get back in it and try to fight those things through. So it's certainly the conversation, the points I'm trying to get out there to execute our game the best way we know how, and that's the only way you know how to do it. You know, you got to go down and get tight. You got to go down and be explosive, and you got to go down and try to create some stuff. There's no question about it.
All set?
Nothing.
Thanks for
Who are you?
Here we go. What's up, guys?
So, how much of the work is Bryce going to get at quarterback this week?
I think he'll probably get the majority of snaps today. Just mix those guys in, as we can see in terms of some of the things they both do well within the game plan, having, good things in for both of them. Obviously, Bryce did some really nice things in the game last week to put us in a couple scoring positions. And it wasn't just in junk time. And we went down, we were in a field goal situation, have a third down that we didn't convert. We end up kicking the field goal there. Would that make it 24-17, I believe? And then we went on another, scoring drive to give us a chance to win. So to answer your question, I think they'll both get some reps, but Bryce will get the majority today with it being a live day. We have jog through tomorrow, some things of that nature that John will be able to mix in a little bit.
So I just want to ask on top of that, if John can go, are they competing for the job right now, or what's that situation?
Yeah, it's just kind of whoever gives us the best opportunity at the end of the day to win the game. And that's something that we'll determine later on in the week. It's so early. We've got the initial game plan in, the normal downs, first and second down. We mixed in some third downs today. So, we'll see who gives us the best chance to win at the end of the day. We'll play.
We just run your system, your offense for years, but when you have a quarterback like Bryce who can add some dimension to the run game, what's the challenge between understanding it might be important to commit to that phase while also it's a midweek?
Change. It was a mix. I mean, if you really look at the game, last week, we were kind of thrust into that situation, but we were prepared for the situation with some of the plays that we were activating and things that we were doing to kind of cater to some of the things that Bryce does well. He played quarterback well. He ran our offense well. He operated the offense well. But we also were able to mix in some quarterback runs and some different things that gives him an opportunity to get on the perimeter and run, which was beneficial for us. So I think it's a mix. You don't want to just fully commit to one or the other. I think that's part of being, balanced within the players and scheme that you have.
I don't want to be disrespectful to the next man up, but with Matthew out, he does things that very few quarterbacks can do. What is the challenge in building a scheme and building your offense without him?
Yeah, that is it's a challenge, but it's something that coaches you look forward to in a lot of ways, where there's different parts of your offense that Matthew can execute at an extremely high level versus John and Bryce, and vice versa. I mean, obviously we know that Matthew is an elite passer of the football and can really push the ball down the field and do some different things that way. And those two guys, John and Bryce, give you the ability to run around a little bit, make some plays off schedule. It's third down and you call a man beater and the man is zone and he can just take off and run. Some of those things that you can't coach, those guys bring as well. So it's definitely what we have to do is be prepared for what do these guys do best, what do they do well, which is different than Matthew. But I think we know what those things are and we can build the game plan around it if those two are the guys that are playing.
Along those lines, how do you manage the quarterback room when, you have Bryce obviously, but with John still dealing with the neck issue and obviously just signing Case and having him potentially prepared?
It's a great room. Matthew's in there too, so it's just, it gives his leadership, his accountability, the way that he kind of operates in the room. Those guys have witnessed that for a long time now, and the standard in the room doesn't change in terms of their, preparation, the way they practice, the way we meet, the way we do things. None of that changes. The room hasn't changed. Matthew's still the leader in that room. But those guys, some of those qualities have rubbed off on those guys in their own ways. But it also gives those guys the opportunity to be themselves too and let their personality shine in some ways and instances if they're going to be the ones that are playing. You want them to have ownership over the room as well, but it's been great.
Show you guys in practice and on Sunday, but in the weeks leading up when he was in the elevation window, what did he show you guys to show that he was ready to take on a larger role?
His play, his energy, his kind of what I was just mentioning about the quarterback room for a young guy with limited experience, his preparation, his attention to detail, his play energy, the way that he goes about his business. Those are the type of things that led us to believe that this would be a good movie for us to watch with Kyron in there. And he did a nice job. Again, similar to the week before. A couple things we can clean up with him, a couple things detail wise, but he plays his tail off. And ultimately, that's what we're looking for.
In terms of their skill sets,
Mhm.
and maybe, I mean, maybe even their personalities a little
Yeah.
bit, he and Cam kind of seem to complement each other.
Totally. Yeah, very, very different in a lot of ways, but especially like you mentioned, as players, a little bit different, which helps. You kind of have a different little 1-2 punch in some ways, and Kyron can do some different things in the pass game, protections, still be able to get you some good tough yards, and then you saw Cam do some nice things the other day. He got some good, got some carries and got a little bit of momentum into the game a little bit, and did some good things. So the more we can continue to build off those two guys, the better.
Couple more, guys.
Cam has said, from the start, before he was gone and when he came back, that really the key for him and anyone else is to stick with it.
For sure.
And to get into a rhythm.
Right.
Has there been like a conscious effort to get that going and you saw the result, or was that just a...
Yeah, no, it's definitely a part of that for sure. I mean, that's one thing. I think we have 17 carries at the half. I don't know what we ended up with, but those carries can help as you get going in the game. And I know things got a little bit out of whack when Matthew went down. We started to play from behind and had to play the game a little bit differently. But those guys were still getting carries at the end of the day. So it is playing the position of running back is of attrition. It's like how many. It gets longer and longer. The game gets more and more, and some of those guys get better and better as the game goes. So, trying to keep that in mind for sure. And we were more successful running the ball, which helped.
Would it be accurate to say that was Cam's best game since the Arizona game? And if so, what did you see on film that he was doing other than just getting the reps as Gary mentioned?
Yeah, I would say so. Since Arizona early on, you definitely saw some things flash. Made a couple people miss in space. The 4th down and 1, in which we got down on the left sideline and ended up sticking his foot in the ground, making somebody miss. And I'm sure he'd like to have some back as well as we would as play callers. We kind of doing the deal. And, he's done some really nice things. We could like to have some plays back. Oh, we should have run it there. Could have thrown it there. All those things all come into play. But you definitely see Cam get better and better as the game went on. And his attention to detail throughout the week, you really saw kind of show up. His attention to detail throughout the week, working with those guys, Thomas and Rashad. And then this week, even in meetings, you've just seen his look in his eye just a little bit different. Not saying that it's good, bad, or indifferent, just a little bit different in a way that gives you confidence as a coach.
You guys you ended up with the most even split run pass that you have all year.
Yeah.
Even when you were in a deficit.
Mhm.
And so, kind of wondering along the lines of what Gary asked.
Yeah.
What does that do when things are? What does that do when things are sort of chaotic around you, whether it's the line or?
Right.
What does that do to keep you guys centered?
Yeah, it's one of those things where the whole offense was built around balance, right? And so then you get Matthew Stafford and you're able to throw it all over the yard and do some different things last year that helped these guys win a Super Bowl. And then we come into a new season and we're struggling to run it, issues up front, all those different things. At the end of the day, we kind of went back to, okay, what is our core philosophy here? What is our core philosophy? What are the fundamentals of this offense built on? And it was balance. And trying to get back to that as much as we can. It wasn't the result we still wanted, so it makes you have to go back to the drawing board, go back to it and say, is that really what is the recipe for success? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But we were able to be more balanced, run the ball a little bit more efficiently, didn't throw it for a ton of yards, but, and we didn't win the game. So you have to now go back and look, was that the recipe that we want to continue to work with? Or do we need to run it more, run it less, throw it more? So those are the things we're looking at right now. Good. Appreciate you guys.
Thank you. We'll try to get Bobby Wagner in here before practice.
being without Sean now, what are you looking for from some of the younger guys who are going to be filling in, and then also with how strong he's been against the run this year, what does not having his presence kind of do?
It's going to be huge. I mean, he's been amazing for us up front. Definitely going to be somebody that we miss. It's going to be hard to replace him, but this is a next man up league, and so the guys that's come up, we just expect them to play at their best, play at a high level, and just kind of go from there.
Did you ever play in your career on a team that went through a streak like this, where like 1 turnover in 8 games?
I'm sure we have. There's been moments, but not too many moments. We were pretty good at getting the ball.
Right. So
I mean, I know you've talked week after week about, just got to be prepared for the opportunity and when it's there, capitalize. But
Yeah.
You just stick with that, or at any point can you inject something else into it that maybe creates something?
We just have to make it happen. We just have to be more conscious of it. We have to be more thoughtful of it. When you talk about the guys that are really good at getting the ball, and you ask them to explain, you think they're going to give you some elaborate explanation on how to give you the ball, and they just think about it. And it's like really that simple. Every person that's really good at punching the ball, every person that's really good at intercepting the ball, like sure they have like route concepts and things of that nature, but they're just obsessed with trying to find ways to get the ball. And so that's kind of what we have to do.
Bobby, it seems like since that Tampa game, there's been a couple of struggles for you guys, those 2 games. Is there something you kind of pinpoint for the last 2 games?
I think the explosive in those key moments have definitely hurt us. We're maybe have a good 2nd down, 3rd down stop or whatever, and then give up an explosive at a key moment. It's definitely played a part, so we just got to be more on the details.
It's pretty obvious teams are really getting the ball out really quick against you guys. How does that change? Can you be more aggressive? Like, do you have to take your chances? How does that?
Yeah, you definitely have to take your chances. You got to be more sticky in your coverage. Like when people like fear your pass rush or just want to get the ball out their hands quicker and not have their quarterback be exposed to hits, that's the way that they do it. A lot of teams do RPOs, kind of like this team. And, we just have to be stickier, give the D-line more time to get to the quarterback.
Raheem called Mahomes an alien.
An alien?
An alien.
Okay.
Is that because of how different he is? How would you label it?
We'll go with alien.
Why?
He's just a special talent. He's a special person. I think if I'm reading what he's saying correctly, it's just something that you can't compare it to. He's not a person that you can compare it to. He's like one of one, and he's a special talent. Has the ability to make plays, and he's a guy you have to be conscious of for sure.
You sit a couple seats away from Bryce Perkins in the locker room. What can you tell us about his personality?
He's kind of quiet, but he's focused. As you guys see in the preseason, when he gets his opportunities, he's ready. So that's one of the things that I admire about him is he's constantly working on his craft, ready for his opportunity. We get to go against him a lot when he was scout team, and so just seeing how he prepared, even for that, trying to give us looks and things of that nature. So we're confident in him, and we're excited he gets this opportunity.
Topic from football, but being home for the first time in 11 years at Thanksgiving, what are your plans, and is this going to be different for you?
Yeah, it's definitely different. I don't think I've been home for Thanksgiving since college, maybe. Even college, we played after Thanksgiving, so I think we're going to just figure it out. I got practice in the morning. Thousand Oaks is a little deep from my home, but we'll figure something out.
Bobby, after the Cardinals game, you mentioned that players have choices to come in, be professional, play their hardest, give the best effort. Do you feel like the players have been doing that, especially last week?
I think so. Yeah.
What makes it feel that way?
Because we're here and we're playing. You know what I mean? It's not guys are not rolling over and just quitting. I wouldn't say they were doing that. So guys are showing up. Guys are still watching film. Guys are still working out. Guys are still, even in the last game, take a couple of those explosives away. The games is a different game. So, again, everybody's still trying to make corrections and figure out what we can do to get a W.
All set?
Good. Appreciate you guys.
Happy holidays.